Looking at television this morning, they showing a carnival over in Brazil. I said, shh, they couldn't give me a trip there. You know, this time of year, Mardi Gras, nowhere in the world. Shit. They could be giving me a first class trip, limousine service, everything. No, baby, we wait till after Mardi Gras. Like my birthday is Saturday the 16th. You know what I'm saying? Them the 2 days I look for. See, Mardi Gras, it's like Christmas, Easter, everything rolled into one. You know, and most people be celebrating Christmas or Thanksgiving or other holiday, you be saying, look, they don't even have to have them days. All they need is Mardi Gras, you know. Feeling of feelings is when you hear that tambourine. See, when my council chief come to my house tomorrow morning and he hit that tambourine, boy, it's like your blood pressure goes up. You know, you go to get nervous, you say, oh man, the house be packed and jammed. You have people sawing that you don't even know, you know. Then when you get it on and you look at it, you know, you don't really get a chance to see yourself until you go in front of a store window, one of them plate glass. Then you see it, if the sun is right behind you, boy, it looks so beautiful. Wow. You know, you say, somebody must have liked me up there in heaven. And then you just hear the tambourine singing, you know, people singing behind you, you know, Indian songs. But I think what really hyped me up Mardi Gras morning, when I put my suit on and I walk out my door, and I get to the corner. But when I get to the corner, I start saying a prayer, singing Indian read is the Indian prayer. You know what it means? You know, you say, and you be hoping. it's like you're responsible. You know, not legally, but in your mind, you know, you're responsible for your neighborhood. You don't want nobody's child to get hurt. You know, you don't want nobody to get hurt. You know, so when you meet in the gang, your spy boy sends a signal back to the back. Now, when he sends that signal, he gonna tell you who it is. You know, if you want to meet him, you meet him. You don't want to meet him, you pass by. Communicate. See, a long time ago, the upper class people in New Orleans had this idea that everybody mass Indian was like a criminal or somebody had questionable characters, you know. And now it's a business, you know. You go to the jazz fest, you go to this place, you go to that place, it's signing contracts and dumb stuff, you know. And a lot of times you used to say, if the wrong person get a hold of your suit, they gonna copy it. You can't copy a suit. Cause you know, when you see Charles' suit gonna be entirely different from mine, you know. Your heart and soul, like, you know, you hear people used to say about the South, if your heart and soul is not in the dictionary, get out. Your heart and soul got to be in there. Because Mardi Gras Day, this suit is heavy. This bad boy, when you put it together, it is heavy. And then at night, you sitting up there, that Tuesday night, you sitting there drinking vinegar. Cramps, you know, you're hurting, you're sore, your host, you know, and you're saying, then 2 or 3 weeks later, you got to put the suit on again for the parade. Then you got the Super Sunday. You got St. Joseph Night. Then you have the Creole Osceola Parade. Then you have the Jazz Fest, if you're invited to the Jazz Fest, you know what you're saying. Okay.
Well, you know, I remember being very excited about a train ride. I'd never been on a train. So to me, it was kind of exciting. I know my parents didn't share the same enthusiasm, but it's like you have to do what you have to do. Mm-hmm. But I remember being excited. I got to be on a train. And we were riding along. And one of the things that I remember is hearing the older kids singing "Don't Fence Me In," which was a song that was popular at the time. I didn't realize how prophetic that would be, but I remember those catchy things as I look back on it. But as we got to the campgrounds in Minidoka, I saw how flat the land was. It was so flat for miles and miles around. I could see flatness. And then way in the background, you'd see some rolling hills. But other than that, it was so flat. And it was a time of year that was hot, so it was dusty. And I remember the dust was so thick. And there was no way of stopping the wind when they had windstorms, so it would just roll across the landscape. And you'd have these tumbleweeds, sagebrushes, just tumbling along with the dust and everything. And you got used to that. More of it. So my mother, we used to practice wearing kerchiefs or handkerchiefs, large handkerchiefs, around our neck. So if we found ourselves, these windstorms would come up so often without any warning, then you just pull it up over your, kind of like, bandits. But you found that those were very handy too. And when I had to go to the restroom, which were outhouses, we had to use that as our way of getting to and from during dust storms, because we would just be covered, with dust from head to toe. And you can hardly see, too. That was kind of a thing we got used to. You had to navigate by either having a friend with you or just remember some places along the way as you went.
Speaking of Minidoka, what happened next? You took the train?
And a lot of this is just a blur. Yes, we were herded onto a train, and I remember we had everything tagged. And I still remember the MPs lined. They were low-ranked GIs, but nevertheless they were there with rifles, and we just did what we were told to do. And now that I see it, I mean, gee, that was so dumb. I mean, I'm sure this day and age, I mean, there would have been much more violence, or people would fight that. But we just went along with it, and I didn't see anybody misbehaving out of line. The barrenness was Seattle was not built up, and we didn't have a whole lot of skyscraper. But as you approached Minidoka, no trees, and here from the northwest, we're surrounded by these green forests, and so it was really completely another world. We weren't talking about another planet in those days, but I mean, it was definitely dry, flat, especially Minidoka. And now that I've visited 7 of the 10 camps, Minidoka of all places, they had not even a mountain or a rock to look at. So again, we just had to accept it. And then when you look at the gates, sure, there were barbed wires, guard towers. We sure stuck together with the family.
Are there any particularly positive moments that stand out in your mind about the camp experience?
Well, I saw the togetherness and the community spirit where people went and had singing sessions. We had community singing, and just then later on they did community dances in the mess hall, and so that you felt the bonding and the togetherness. And I thought that was good, and people were helping each other and friendly,
How about any particularly negative points?
Well, the negative aspect was the inconvenience. The bathroom situation was very difficult. You'd have to go a whole block to go to the bathroom, and then it was all public type of facilities, and also the laundry room was big tubs, and where you had to go wash your clothes with a scrub board, which I had never seen until then, And so those were the major inconveniences. But we did make do. I'd go pick up my girlfriend, or she'd come pick me up, and we'd go for walks or whatever, and we'd read books and things, so there wasn't that real boredom, read Gone with the Wind, And the American Friends Service Committee sent in lots of books for us. Some of the people felt more victimized than some of us, depending on the situation. There was a lot of turmoil when the boys volunteered for the service, because some of the parents felt like, why are you going to the service when we're thrown into camp, And some of the older East States actually felt that Japan was going to win the war. And they said, hey, why are you doing this? Yeah.
I think we do not pay enough attention to Mary Denny and to the other pioneer women. On the monument at Elkie Point, it says Arthur A. Denny and wife. It says Carson Boren and wife, John N. Lowe and wife, etc. I'm deeply offended by that. I can understand it culturally because that's the way you would have written a thing like that, I suppose, but that's terrible. Those women are the real heroines, the real heroes of that time. And Arthur Denny recognized it very firmly. He said it every time, every chance he got, he talked about what he owed to his wife. He said any achievement he'd ever made in his life, he owed to her. You can't say too much about the significance of women in the development of a community like this and of women like Mary Denny. And it's not just sort of the difficulty of making homes under difficult circumstances. I mean, that's obvious, it's huge. All you have to do is visualize the scene at Elkie Point on November 13th, and you've got it. I mean, just imagine what that means. But going on from that is that they started a tradition, some of those early women, like Mary Denny, of women professionals in this community too, who made broad contributions to it. Her contribution, she was extremely thoughtful about matters involving property. She was creative. I'm told that they used to use her will at the University of Washington Law School as an example of an outstanding will. That she was, I don't want to say a smart businesswoman. I don't like that phrase too well, but because it's part of the older sort of anti-feminist way of saying things. But those women were quite remarkable. Roberta Watt, her granddaughter, Roberta Fry Watt, was an extraordinary citizen of this community in terms of founding enterprises. The beginning of all the major social agencies in this community were the acts of women, not of men. There's a wave of women who were active in social and educational activities of a later generation, but the direct descendants, really, of those pioneer women and part of that tradition. And these were this group of professional women that also took care of families. In many cases, as in the case of my grandmother, had to be the breadwinner and the head of household of two families, her own and then that of her daughters, my mother's. And the people like that did so much to build this community. And it's right in that tradition of Mary Denny and Louisa Boren Denny and those people who were powerful forces in the community. Catherine Blaine, for example, the wife of Seattle's first minister, David E. Blaine. Catherine Blaine was the school marm for the first school in Seattle. And so it goes. And I'm in part saying what male society has been slow to understand about the role of women, and which modern feminism has done so much to emphasize and so on. But the concept of professionalism, that is, being a professional at making your community work in some way or other, goes back a long way, and it's part of that pioneer tradition, in my opinion.
watching Civic Television, CTV, a service of King County government.
Good morning. I want to welcome everyone to today's meeting of the King County Council Management, Labor, and Customer Services Committee for Tuesday, September 28, 1999. We'll begin with... Okay, Reverend Samuel McKinney is here. Dr. McKinney, welcome, and we're really honored to have you here and
Thank you.
Get any comments you have.
How long do I have?
Well, I'm not going to hold you to any set time. What we really, particularly for the people introducing the subject, if you want a little more flexibility, take whatever flexibility you need. But ultimately, to get all these people done today, some of you hopefully can keep your comments down to a minute or two in order to get everyone done. But let's allow a little flexibility to begin with here.
Thank you very much, and my name is Samuel B. McKinney. I live at 828 33rd Avenue in Seattle, Washington. Pastor Emeritus of the Mount Zion Baptist Church, having served that congregation for 40 years. During that time, Dr. King made only one trip to Seattle. That was in 1961, and Mount Zion brought him here then, and we encountered some local acts that did not make sense, which I hope he will be avoiding today. Dr. King and I were in the same freshman class in Morehouse College, entered there in September 1944. He was 15, I was 17, and as soon as I turned 18, Uncle Sam laid a claim on me. I was also present in another chamber, I think it's around the corner, when this county, King County, named officially this county after Martin Luther King, Jr., which I think was a right step, a forward step, the only county in the country up to this date named for an individual, and all of the items listed in that list are correct. Now, I hope that we do, and we should, have a logo depicting his likeness so everyone will know who and what this county stands for. We have an opportunity to go forward, to overlook, or to go past some of the wrong things that have happened in this state, because you see, the state of Washington, the United States, failed 3 times in this area. One, in its treatment of the Native Americans. Secondly, in its treatment of the Asian Americans in the 1880s, and then herding all the people of Japanese background into the Puyallup Fairgrounds after Pearl Harbor, and its historic mistreatment of African Americans in what was the Oregon Territory, which in the state of Oregon made it illegal for black people to permanently reside in that state until George Washington Bush came into the Washington Territory, and those who were fighting his presence and who wanted the northern boundary of this state to be at the 54th parallel retreated back to the 49th, hollering that the neighborhood had changed, going way back there that black folks are now a part of this state. Had it not been for a black man, George Washington Bush, the state of Washington would be a part of British Columbia right now. We have not paid due respect to the history that has made this part of the nation possible. Every section of this country was affected by slavery. The Deep South held people in slavery as manifest destiny, which really was a cover-up for white power and control. We see it rearing its ugly head today, was intended to make sure that this nation would remain white. That is not happening today, and we need to take change by the hand before it takes us by the throat. Dr. King's memory, kept alive here in visible form, is the only way to travel, the right way to travel, not only to have the logo, but if the state and the government has to recognize this change or this likeness, it should be done, and should not be wasted any longer. We're going into a new millennium, another century, another generation, and we do not need to be hampered by the mistakes of the past. To honor Dr. King, and I know a lot of spurious things have been said about him, George Washington, I understand, recanted his holding of slaves. I don't know about Rufus Devane King, Lord rest him and his memory. But let us move on and honor somebody worthy of honor. And we are honored to have his name over our county. It may be difficult for some people to live under that, but the sooner it's done officially again, it should be done. I don't know why we always have to go over things 2 and 3 times as black Americans to get things accomplished, but whatever it takes, we're here to do it, and we ask you to do the right thing right now. This is your splendid opportunity to leave in the past, in the 20th century, stuff that should not go into the 21st century, and close this book and move forward together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Question? Question. You said that you witnessed white power rearing its ugly head here today. What did you mean by that?
24/7.
What did I mean by that?
Yeah, you said your words were you were witnessing white power rearing its ugly head here today. Could you please explain what you mean by that?
What I mean by that, when I see all of the shootings and murders and other things that are taking place, someone who lived in this area going to Los Angeles County, doing things there, when I see the reaction against change, not from poor whites, but from people driving to school in BMWs and Mercedes and pulling out guns and making bombs in their homes. No black mother would let her child make bombs in the house. They not know what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
That sort of thing, that's what I mean.
Okay, thank you.
Growing up is a great adventure, and growing pains are a part of it, but we live and learn. One thing we learn is that everybody, sooner or later, is in some way disabled, even if just for a little while, and our environment can often turn a simple disability into a real handicap. But it doesn't have to be that way. All it takes is a little planning and caring. For more information, write Access America, Washington, D.C. 20201.
Redlining. It's a vicious circle. It's when banks and other lending institutions decide a neighborhood is depressed because of racial makeup, ages, or income of the residents. When loans are not made for upkeep, improvements, and new building, the neighborhood collapses. Soon, neighboring areas are affected. The vicious circle of redlining has to be broken. For more information, call 213-474-7342. That's 474-7342.
You can make it happen.
Tell you something about the song. The gal that's here, she's the one that teached me, Evelyn Enoch. But she was Evelyn Enoch. Evelyn Canham. At the time, she was teaching me these songs. So I really never earned these songs. I was taught. So the first one I will sing is about the dawn, break of dawn coming, and these girls are having a jubilee, and these men, young fellas, want to get up there to the girls, where them girls were having a nice jubilee. How come she was teaching? First one.
Bial. Gelachd tegen Asians. Wel och. Wel eet tegen Asians. As go at chita. Put us feel tia chita shakabats. Wil ik weet tia Asians. Dat is wel geen gezellig. Oh, tu ibastel. Kol out ja, tu ibastel. Dat is tasa chel ja chita. Atia stabigus chat. Oh, watawa tia chita chida. Mala tutasa na tids guat stabig. Ho atat with abi. Ai. Watacha tia sbiao. Gosakada tia. Ka atat stabig shakabata tia. Hik chita. Ai. Putaguela. Putaguela. Go ibash. Go ibash. Ibasha. Kolatiaks ibash. Lakada. Tiala tukotsut. La tukotsut. Tukotsut. Zakos. Tia hik chitala tu chala tias biao. Oi khazak tias biao. Oi talawela. Well talawela. Well talawela biao. Ai kwakwela. Kwakwela. Well lachad tit so was. Kagwel leid de sok sokwa. Staba kwishud soy. What will I Oh, what so you say, hack you was hide. Toch you hoy, oh, you were wetted with me man as Lilo, I'll teach the body to qua shula will. But we to shula will do good at ya chita. Oh, hack. Just hide. The guard will say the so. Hi, oh, tiaks biao. Will eat, tiak me man as lilo, tiaks badia. Well, shula will, tiaks badia. At tiak, chita. We go shula will do both. Hi, zalk tuta. Zal tut tia chita. Lo kada tut kwa tia aslu. Tu chuk tu holz akes bia. Oh. Oi aha tia sbiao ha goftis as ta gofo ta ko. Oi la khadko. Til sok was. Kagwel leid de sok was. Tagochen. Tagochen. Staba kwilud soy. Oh, what so Joseph. Hak was hide. Toch hoy. Kwa, chwa baladi. Well, to the suit of teeth. Chita. Katya ishin. Atya. Oh, hack to the side of the guagwheel played the so what. That's what I had jokes, yeah. Oh, toch to that's a great Asian. How? How? Ai, khazaf tia chita go little tut go alale kop tia sbia. Dead sois.
So I think they'd be glad to hear me playing, then I'm done. I'm gonna sing you a white man's love song now. How many arms have held you that hated to let you go? How many, I wonder that I really don't want to know. How many have kissed you. Set your soul aglow. How many, I wonder, know that I really don't want to know. So always make me wonder. So always make me guess. And even if I asked you, darling, don't confess. Just let it remain your secret. That, darling, I love you so. No wonder, I wonder. Oh, I really don't want to know.
Robert Colescott's works of art make you, quote, choke on your giggles. Colescott's got you exactly where he wants you. Well, we welcome the very talented, oftentimes controversial, but certainly never boring, Robert Colescott to the Noon Show. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Steve. Very glad to be here.
We say controversial. We say it also makes you laugh and makes you think. You tell us, you describe what you do. What is your art all about?
Well, you know, it's about a lot of things. It's a rather complex thing just to sit here in a minute and tell you what my art's all about. However, one of the issues that I deal with a lot is making an ironic statement about what I consider a traditional white perception of black people, and I use irony and humor and satire to deal with that idea.
Some of the ironies that you would look at, what would be some of those stereotypes that maybe you would
Well, occasionally, if I'm going to talk about stereotyping, I'll represent a stereotype. I might use an Aunt Jemima figure, or I might use a banjo picker, or a kind of step-and-fetch-it character, and those are stereotypes that I have worked with. In general, I try to diffuse them. I try to inject humor and ironic humor so that people realize that these images are not really meant to be taken literally, but they're meant to be thought about.
Here's one of your works we see on the screen now. Explain that a little bit.
Well, this painting is called Listening to Amos and Andy, and it goes back to my experience as a kid when everybody in the country at 8 o'clock at night listened to Amos and Andy, whether you were black or you were white. And a lot of people didn't know that Amos and Andy were white actors that were playing the role. And of course, this could be carried off very nicely in radio.
As you depict characters of your own race there, again, ironically, satirically, have you run into some problems from other blacks saying, the way you're depicting us, Robert, for crying out loud, give us a break here?
Well, I occasionally get that, not as often as one might think, or not as often as the press sometimes makes it out. In general, I think people get what I'm after. A lot of very, very intelligent people come to see my show. A lot of people who don't know a lot about art come to see my show. In general, they seem to be open and willing to laugh a little and to get some understanding of what I'm about.
We talked a moment ago when your show opened, I guess, back in Akron. Before it opened, there seemed to be some controversy, but you said that once the people came in and saw and you talked to them, it kind of diffused that.
Yeah, once the show actually got there and people saw that they were faced with a work of art, they were really looking at artwork, and that these paintings were large, sensuous objects that they could enjoy visually, they gave it a second look. And I talked to people there, and I talked about the fact that they're not meant to be taken literally, and that the paintings largely are not about black people, but about a perception of black people. And in general, we had a ball. It ended up being a very, very positive thing for the museum and for the community and for me.
In general, look, this is one that I have seen before, as a matter of fact, and I find this one to be a very funny piece. This is it George Washington Carver crossing the Delaware?
It's George Washington Carver, ironically crossing the Delaware, and it comes out of my experiences in school, studying history when I was a kid in the 30s, and the fact that there was this little page in the back of the book talking about black contribution, and they had a couple of heroes for us. And at the same time, the media presented us with images that were very negative, Step and Fetch It, Aunt Jemima, and so on. And so this statement in the painting is really about that dichotomy between the one heroic figure and then who was used as a kind of token, and then all these other menial people that were the general representations of black folks.
Well, the work is just terrific, and you really do have to see it to appreciate it and to understand it. The number you see on your screen right there, this Saturday, June 3rd, the Seattle Art Museum supporters will host a benefit called the Artists Studio Tour, where you can meet and talk with some Seattle area artists in the place that they work. And for more information, you can call the number there, 625-8900. And in the meantime, go and enjoy Robert Colescott's work, because, again, it will make you laugh and it will also make you think. Thanks for joining us today.
We laugh and we cry about the same things.
Yes, we do, don't we?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Steve.
Out of the wasteland, suddenly there were objects which radiated warmth, vitality, a condensed inner strength, the like of which I had never known.
Her name was Catherine White, and she collected African art, more than 2,000 works of art in 2 decades.
Crates came and came. Each time I opened them and unearthed an object, a delirium of exhilaration sang in my heart.
Suddenly, African art came to her as this ultimate inspiration, and she mainlined it for 20 years, gave up a lot to do it, but that was the goal she set, and she really achieved a lot.
In 1980, just a year after she had moved to Seattle, White died at the age of 51. Her wish to leave her collection to the Seattle Art Museum was fulfilled with the help of the Boeing Company.
Compared to if she gave it, I think, to the Metropolitan or to Detroit, it would be one collection among many. Whereas here she knew she would be in the spotlight. And I think that was part of the enticement. And she knew this new building was coming. And so it would be a pivot point in the new building, and it has proved to be.
For 10 years, African art curator Pam McCluskey has been working towards this moment, when the Catherine White collection would get the spotlight it deserved in the new Seattle Art Museum. First, there was the task of selecting and grouping the works that would be displayed.
You're going to have the ivories, wooden objects, and textiles.
I wouldn't want to come off the wall too far.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, to support it, because all of them...
Then the enormous technical challenge of mounting an exhibition of 300 delicate objects.
You can see how someone sat upon that enough.
And finally, the search, with the help of dozens of African artists and historians, for ways to bring the art to life.
We've been gathering together videotapes of performances that we're going to show just straight with music, no narration, to give people just a short hit of what it's like to be in the middle of a performance. Often when I see African art in other installations, it tends to be treated like toxic waste. You know, they just put it under a plexiglass and say, this is hovering here, but we don't know quite what to do with it. And here we're pulling open the curtain and saying, here's something to really learn about.
You're absolutely equidistant with the top of Helena, so.
The African collection is divided into 3 galleries. The first is focused on art of the individual, textiles, jewelry, the trappings of status and royalty. In this case, a king in the highlands of Cameroon.
We have a wealth of imagery from that kingdom, including the throne that would stand behind the young male ruler and was kept throughout his life, depicting his queen mother, his mother who stood looking over his shoulder every time he was presiding over difficult situations.
The second gallery is devoted to performance art, including masks weighing up to 60 pounds each and often worn by a young man in a rite of passage ceremony.
But he has to come out with this massive weight on his head and jump over a mound of earth and perform exquisitely, or the elders know the young men are not prepared to shoulder all the responsibilities of life around them.
In the third gallery are statues. Some, like this figure from the Congo, endowed with political and legal powers.
If an agreement was made, a pact was agreed to, a treaty was signed, instead of legal documents, what would be taken was a nail, and it would be pounded into this image, who stands with his hands on his hips, ready to take it, and he becomes a recording device that forever after is known as holding that element of agreement.
Every statue, every object has a story. It was Catherine White's dream that someday we would hear them all.
I found my closest friends in the silent, upright, power-hovering figures and closed faces of Africa.
Go ahead. We think we have the suspect to the robbery on the grounds at the 5 Point Shopping Center. Gaines is out of the car checking it out.
10-4. Keep me advised.
please, now.
All right, now listen, everybody. This is an emergency. I want you to leave your food right where it is and get out now. Quickly. Quietly and carefully. Now.
As soon as I see her, I'll kill her.
Everybody, quietly. Come on. Come on, just leave your food there. Come on out. Now. Come on, move. Move. Put that tray down. Come on. Just come on out. That's it.
What's your name? Betsy what?
Carefully. Don't panic.
Mine's Wally.
Lady, I want you to get your employees out the back way. I don't want anybody hurt.
But my lunch, I just paid for my
Lady,
lunch.
just get the hell out of here. That's it. Come along.
Come on, folks, move out.
Just keep moving, lady.
Newell, call the dispatcher. We're going to need help. This kid's grabbed a girl as a hostage.
Come on, folks. Keep moving. That's it. Everybody.
Let her go, boy.
Oh, man, I can't. No, I can't. Now, you listen. Here's what I want you to do. And slow. Now, slow. Underhanded. You throw your gun over there by that column. Now sit down. You're making me nervous.
All right, son. What are you going to do?
See what they're doing. Just sitting there listening to a radio.
Okay, you boys, get away from this window.
Impatient? Sure I'm impatient. My ice cream's melting.
I want to tell you about the big KVIK love game. Any song I play that doesn't have the word love in the lyrics, baby, if you hear one, call me. Because the first one to call will be eligible for a fabulous love gift.
This is John Newman in KVIK Mobile News Unit number 2. We're on our way to the 5 Point Shopping Center, where a disturbance has been reported at the Maynard cafeteria. Although we have few details at this time, a gunman is apparently holding a teenage girl hostage in the cafeteria. We'll have the details in about 5 minutes.
Wrong move, man. Not cool at all. Hey, let's dedicate this next big one from the licorice sewing machine to the not-so-cool cat at Maynard's cafeteria and to the folks at Papa Dad's Leaning Tower of Pizza.
Let me get a doctor for the girl.
Her name's Betsy. Why won't you talk to me? Well, you're supposed to talk to me. You know, like they do to people standing out on window ledges?
Well, I'm not a very wise man, Wally, but, all right, let's see what we can figure out.
Okay. See if you can figure this one for me. Those people out there. Who are they waiting to see, Gord? Me? You? Betsy. Who's the beautiful, sad stranger?
Oh, for Christ's sake, Wally, you're talking stupid. Nobody's gonna die. Nobody's gotta die. Now look, it's simple. You see, you haven't done anything, really. You're not really in that bad of trouble.
What do you know about trouble? And what do you know about me? Now, how do you know I haven't done anything?
A few years in jail, stupid. That's the worst.
You're the stupid one, stupid. It's not that easy, stupid. I don't want to listen to you, stupid. You sit down. Just sit down.
Wally, why did all this happen?
What?
Why?
I don't know. Why are we born? Things just happen.
Damn it, Reverend, will you be quiet for a minute? Now listen, none of this needs to happen. If we can just talk this over without all this double talk, we can go home.
Bull.
Shut up!
Well, Big Red is a talking fire hydrant used by many fire departments to teach fire safety. We open our story with the captain talking to his crew.
Good morning. Today I'm going to need a volunteer to go out and inspect the house where we had a fire. Let's see. Jim, how about you?
Sure, I'll go. Can I take Big Red with me?
Good idea. He should be a lot of help.
I wonder where he is.
He could be in the storage room. Let's check. I don't see him.
What was that noise?
Is that you, Big Red?
Help! I'm trapped. Somebody has thrown a blanket over me, and I don't know if it is night or day.
Here, I'll help you. There.
Thank you.
I'll need your help. Mrs. Reeves had a fire, and you are to go with Jim to her house and check to see if it's fire safe.
Good idea. I am an expert on fire safety.
We return to our story with them approaching Mrs. Reeves' house.
Come on, Big Red.
But I think she might have a vicious dog.
Come on. If she has a dog, it's probably a small one.
Why, hello. You must be from the fire department. You come to inspect my house.
Yes, I'm Inspector Jim, and this is my fire safety expert, Big Red.
Well, come right on in. This is Spot. He's very friendly, but I don't think he's ever seen a talking fire hydrant before.
Big Red is new to our department. He's an expert on fire safety. Where was your fire?
Come this way. It started in the bedroom from my portable heater.
I see what the problem was. The heater was too close to the bed. When the covers fell off the bed, they landed on the heater.
Portable heaters and baseboard heaters can be very dangerous. There should be at least 1 foot clearance from all types of heaters.
Well, it's a good thing I had a smoke detector mounted on the ceiling near the bedroom.
Let's check it, see if it still works.
Smoke detectors should be checked twice a month. Uh-oh! Extension cords should not run under rugs or through doorways.
You mean that can start a fire?
Yes, Mrs. Reeves. They can become frayed, and when the wires touch each other, they could spark and start a fire.
Jim, Let's show Mrs. Reeves that movie. I have to let her know what to do in case there's a fire at night and you're in bed.
Good idea. Here, let me open the door. Now, let's see, which button do I push? It must be this one.
No, no, no.
Uh-oh, wrong button. Sorry, Big Red. Let's check your kitchen.
When cooking, be careful not to catch your clothes on fire. If they do, stop, drop, and roll.
What about matches or cigarette lighters?
Oh, I keep them up high on a shelf away from smaller children.
Good idea. They are dangerous.
I notice you have a screen on your fireplace.
I always use it. I know a spark could land on the rug and start a fire.
Fire is dangerous. Always use the screen.
What about ashtrays?
Well, I don't smoke, but when I have somebody over that does, I have these safe ashtrays. They're the ones that will have the cigarette fall inside if you forget about them.
Good idea. You should always check behind your cushions if someone smokes to make sure ashes did not fall down in between the cushions.
If they did, you could have a fire that could burn slowly for several hours unnoticed. And then, after you've gone to sleep, it could break out into flames.
Since I had that fire, I've tried to be very careful.
I'm going to leave this fire safety checklist with you. Your house looks fire safe, but anyone can have a fire, even if they are very careful.
Jim and Big Red left Mrs. Reeves' house. They felt that by having checked Mrs. Reeves' house, it was going to be fire safe. When they returned to the station, Jim opened the door to the storage area and told Big Red not to get caught in the corner where the blanket had been thrown over the top of him.
Next time I go check for fire hazards, I'll take you with me again.
Thanks, Jim. Everyone should check their home to make sure it is fire safe.
Well, you guessed it. When Jim closed the door, the blankets fell over Big Red. And now, Big Red doesn't know when it is day or night. But he is waiting for the day when he again can go out and help teach fire safety.
Janice, guess what? The slides from Trinidad and Tobago are here. Yeah, they're ready. Okay. All right, listen, I'll meet you in 15 minutes in the park. Okay? All right, bye.
On the floors of Tokyo, down in London town to go-go. Oh, with the record selection and the mirror's reflection, I'm a dancing with myself. Oh, when there's no one else inside, in the crowded lonely night. Well, I wait so long for my love vibration, and I'm dancing with myself. Dancing with myself. Dancing with myself. When there's nothing to lose and there's nothing to prove, but I'm dancing with myself. Every time we go, but your empty eyes seem to pass me by, leave me dancing on with myself. So let's sink another drink, 'cause it'll give me time to think. If I